From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
It seems like there's always construction popping up in Bozeman. I'm Annie Johnson with the latest project coming up.
What happens if your child's school shuts down because of a COVID outbreak and you can't go to work? Coming up, we take a closer look at the laws that could help you keep your job if you're forced to stay home with your kids.
Right at 6:30 on this Tuesday, Chet Lehman, Caitlin Corbett, Matt Elwell, watching the sunrise this morning. Beautiful temperatures on the warm side, partly because of that clouds that makes the sunrise so beautiful.
You can't have one without the other, right?
There you go.
Temperatures this morning in Helena, 70 degrees. I bet it was beautiful in Helena this morning.
That's lovely.
It didn't hold a finger to what we were dealing with here in our area. Temperatures should be pretty mild for most of the day. We do look for some thunder showers later this afternoon. I don't expect to see severe weather, but our temperatures well into the 80s as you move through the mid part of the day today. We'll talk more about what you can expect as you head toward the weekend. There's a hint. It's going to be hot. Ooh. More on that, of course, in just a few minutes.
Any particular finger you were referencing in that? I'm just curious. We'll get back to that one. In the meantime, 6:30 now, as we just heard. Temperatures set to hit the 90s this week, and officials are sending out a warning. Keep your children away from hot cars.
Here are some safety tips on how you can do that and what to do if you find your child in an emergency situation.
The risks surrounding kids getting trapped in hot cars are changing. Kidsincars.org says typically in 1 year, 25% of hot car deaths happen when a child gets into a vehicle on their own. This year, that number has jumped to 55%. Most of these tragedies happen at home.
And during the pandemic, children are at home more hours of the day, more days of the week. And so naturally, we are seeing the number of home accidents and injuries with children increase.
The group's director, Amber Rollins, says a lot of these deaths have happened during nap time. Parents don't realize the child is missing at first because they get outside and into the car when they're supposed to be asleep. Rollins suggests doing everything you can to make sure toddlers can't sneak outside, like child-proofing or putting sensors on doors. Always keep your vehicle locked and the keys out of reach. Teach kids how to get out if they do get trapped, and if your child ever goes missing, cars should be one of the first places you check.
Just like you would check the pool in the backyard first, a vehicle is an environment that presents an imminent risk to children very quickly. You want to check the inside, the floorboards, and the trunk of all of the vehicles in the area immediately. And minutes can make a difference for children trapped in a hot car.
The group is also advocating for Congress to pass the Hot Cars Act that would require all new vehicles to have systems that can detect a child or pet in a car when the engine is off. It passed the House this month.
By the way, that bill would also consider requiring systems that can detect the presence of anyone in the vehicle who cannot independently exit, and the presence of a child who has entered an empty vehicle all by themselves.
6:32 now. School is about to start here in Montana and across the country, and the big question on everyone's mind is what that will look like. While parents are wondering if their children will be actually going to school, some are wondering where they'll go if they don't go to school every day. That puts a new challenge out there for childcare programs. Childcare was deemed an essential business during the shutdown in March. That remains, but childcare has changed over the past 4 months. Now childcare providers are working to make room for school-aged children who may be going to actual school part of the time and then in need of a place to be the rest of the week. Those who advocate for childcare say this won't be like March. Childcare programs are open and have been working to make themselves ready, both for safety and the needs of school-aged children. The big challenge is scheduling.
The availability that was given during the last closure for school-aged children might not be there, and so we're really just trying to figure out how to kind of squeeze them in where they are, and working with the community too on some types of fall summer camp type things as well, trying to figure out how to fit those needs.
We use separate entrances for our childcare and then for our public school kids, so they'll have that in the fall. And then they'll each have their own designated space where they can set up with their laptop or other learning device and things like that, so we can assist with their online schooling or whatever curriculums that the schools send them with as well.
Every day is a new day, and I think, with the scheduling in the fall, we're not quite sure what that will look like, but, we we work well together, and we work well as a team with the emergency management group. And I think whatever will be the plan, we're just going to roll with it and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
And rolling with it might be the best advice for everyone involved. Some child care programs are also working with children in multiple school systems, posing yet another challenge for scheduling. You can join us tonight at 5:30 as MTN's Chet Lehman takes a closer look at how child care programs are preparing to become part-time schools for Montana school-age children.
In other news this morning, what happens when your child gets sick and you can't work? What if your child's school shuts down because of a COVID outbreak? Those are questions families are struggling with as new school year approaches. This morning, as so many of you think about getting children safely back to school, Chris Conti takes a closer look at parents' rights when it comes to your job and family.
And the yard's been a godsend.
Okay. The constant back and forth of a summer consumed with COVID
This has been a summer of popsicles.
has left Acacia Clark and her 3 boys stuck in a state of uncertainty.
I made a decision early on that I was going to try to keep working, and it's been mostly leaving them to their own devices.
This realtor and her husband are both still working, but juggling her business and the kids has proven nearly impossible.
My focus, for my work has been abysmal. So I haven't been able to focus. I'll get in, a few minutes here, a few minutes there, but it's very stressful.
As empty classrooms start to fill back up, Acacia and other parents across the country are stuck, wondering what might happen if their kids catch COVID and they can't work. Chris Fuedo is an employment attorney.
If kids can't go back to school, parents can't go back to work full time.
In March, Congress passed the Family's First Coronavirus Response Act. It gives parents 2 weeks of paid sick leave if you find yourself having to quarantine. Parents also get 2 weeks of paid sick leave at 2/3 your regular salary if your child's school or daycare shuts down because of COVID. And it guarantees 10 weeks of leave at 2/3 your salary if you need to take care of a sick child. Those benefits will run out on December 31st. Another big problem facing parents right now, many have already exhausted all of their leave. So if you do find yourself having to ask your boss for more flexibility, the best advice is to have a plan.
Come up with your plan and say, hey, listen, this is the most that I can do for my employer, or this is how I can do everything I need to do for the employer while still be there for my family.
It's more than being stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's just being in a hard place constantly and not even having a light at the end of the tunnel.
And with a new school year on the horizon, Acacia Clark and parents everywhere are trying to manage whatever the pandemic throws their way.
This is a new normal for years to come.
I'm Chris Conti reporting.
Now, it's important to know that under the Family's First Coronavirus Response Act, it is illegal to fire someone because they need to take care of their family due to COVID. On our website right now, we have more tips on how to have some of those difficult conversations with your boss. If your family gets sick, just look for this story in the rebound section of our website.
6:37 now. It is the season. Another big construction project is underway in Bozeman, and this one is worth nearly $3.5 million. MTN's Annie Johnson has the latest developments.
If you're driving down North 7th Avenue in Bozeman, be prepared for some construction delays.
We're constructing things as efficiently as we can, and then once it's all said and done, they'll have a beautiful roadway to drive through. So just be patient with us.
The 7th Avenue Streetscape project runs several blocks from Mendenhall Street to Durston Road. And for one nearby business owner, he's happy to see crews working on the street.
There's more talk about the excitement of North 7th getting brought up, right? It's kind of been, I wouldn't say a problem street, but it doesn't look as nice as some of the other areas. So most people are excited to have the street looking better, and the foliage and the plants they're putting in the middle, most people look forward to it.
Crews have been working for a couple of weeks now to give North 7th Avenue upgrades that's nearly worth $3.5 million.
Putting in new sidewalks, luminaires, trees, pavers. It's a beautification of the right-of-way. It's a good general way to describe it.
And others agree overall the construction hasn't been all that terrible.
There's a lot more traffic because you've only got one lane going north, so traffic backs up from Durston sometimes past Lammy. But other than that, it's not been too bad.
As you'd expect, the traffic has increased more during rush hours. There'll get to be a line of cars, but those are short spells during the day. For the most part, it's not too bad.
Other improvements to the street include street lights, pedestrian crossings, upgrades to infrastructure, and electrical work for seasonal decorations like Christmas lights.
This project is estimated to go on until October. Reporting in Bozeman, Annie Johnson, MTN News.
'Tis the season.
Winter and road construction are two official
That's
seasons
what we
here
say,
in Montana.
right?
That's what it is, yep.
I swear, every summer, everywhere I live is always under construction.
Right.
I'm like, there's just always a detour to get to my house, and I continuously go the wrong way, and then I'm like, why did I go this way? It's a cycle.
Where do I live? Where's my home?
It never ends.
There's road construction down in my neighborhood as well, in Belgrade, in this old district. So
I could just follow the detour signs, but somehow.
No, I'm going to do
no,
my own
I'm
thing.
just
I'm
like,
gonna
oh
do
no,
my own
I know where I can go, and then no,
That's so funny.
more construction.
6:39. How about we take a quick break here while she finds a map?
Yeah.
When we come back, did you get a seed packet you didn't order? What's in it? Where'd it come from? We'll have that after the break. Find out why the police and the FBI don't want you to open it. But first, let's take a look at what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, the COVID crisis is pushing more businesses to the brink while tense negotiations continue in Washington, D.C. on a new stimulus package. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer joins us. We'll ask him what it will take for Democrats and Republicans to reach a deal. Plus, baseball at risk? Hear how Major League Baseball plans to keep the game going after more than a dozen Miami Marlins players and staff tested positive for the coronavirus. And see how neighbors of a New York City artist rescued his work after he was forced to move to Puerto Rico due to the pandemic. Stick around, we'll see you at 7.